If I'd just let him scrap it, I'd still have a partner. But the 1974 Norton Commando, you don't scrap a bike like that. I spent 11 months on that restoration, hand-polished the cases, rerouted the wiring harness because the original design was a fire hazard, matched the silver by eye, and laid the black pinstripe with my left hand braced on shop towels because my right shoulder was acting up. 9 months after I logged it complete, someone posted a photo from a rally in Oregon. Fresh plates. My paint. My pinstripe. Inventory said scrapped. And I'm the one who taught Liam how to use the inventory system. I'm the one who said we should trust each other enough to share the login. My name is Margot Delgado. For 17 years, my name sat beside Liam Price's in cracked gold vinyl on the front window. Delgado and Price. Vintage Motorworks. We were not famous. We weren't the kind of shop with celebrity clients and men who used curated about motorcycles. We were good. That was enough. We rebuilt British twins that came in with mouse nests in the airbox and Italian singles that had been almost running since 1988. We knew which customers wanted concourse and which ones just wanted the bike to start after lunch. The Norton was mine in the way a shop bike can be yours, even when the title belongs to the business. I knew every rounded bolt head, every scar under the paint. I remembered the week I finished it. Lacquer, coffee burned down to syrup, Liam's peppermint gum. The photo came on a Wednesday afternoon while I was labeling Amyl carb bodies. A guy named @Cascade Classic had tagged our shop account under a picture from a rally outside Bend. Liam never touched the social accounts. He called them the part of the business that runs on feelings, and left them to me. Sweet Commando, is this one of yours? The bike sat in a row of polished machines under yellow cottonwoods, Oregon plate. The front fender had the tiny asymmetry I had cursed for 2 days before deciding only I would notice. On the right side, below the tank, was the custom bracket I had machined for the brake caliper because the original casting had a porosity defect. The frame looked straight. The downtube paint was mine, unblemished, no sign of repair. There was no way that frame had ever been bent. Only one of those brackets existed. I had made it after hours on a Thursday with a half-dead radio playing Ranchera through one speaker. I walked to the office with my phone in my hand. The office was 10 by 12, with 2 desks, 3 filing cabinets, a printer that jammed if you looked hopeful, and a free oil supplier calendar because Liam refused to pay for calendars. Liam was out picking up a Bonneville frame from Powder Coat. I sat in his chair because his monitor was bigger and opened inventory. Norton Commando 850. Frame number 307314. Classic British bikes used frame and engine numbers, not 17-digit VINs, but we log them the same way. Status: scrapped. Disposition: stripped for parts. Date: April 18. Entered by L. Price. For a few seconds, I just stared. April 18 was not vague to me. It was the Tuesday Liam brought donuts. He only brought donuts when something was wrong, or when he had done something he didn't want to discuss yet. I had eaten half a maple bar while he told me the Norton buyer had backed out and the engine had developed a knock we should not ignore. I'd been up to my elbows in a Ducati fork rebuild and said, fine, put it aside, we'll deal with it after quarterlies. Apparently deal with it meant the bike had ceased to exist. I should have called him. That would have been honest, or at least theatrical. But shop partnerships are not marriages, no matter how often customers call them that. They are ledgers and habits and shared debts and 1,000 small dependencies. If you accuse your partner of stealing a motorcycle and you are wrong, the accusation remains in the floor like spilled brake fluid. You can wipe it up. You still know where it was. So I did the first thing I could do without making noise. I printed the inventory page. Then I pulled the physical job folder. We still kept paper folders because old bikes punish optimism. The Norton's folder held parts invoices, photos, notes in my handwriting, Liam's estimates, title copies, a customer interest sheet, and a final inspection checklist signed by both of us. Behind the checklist was the scrap report. Engine internal damage. Frame not economically viable. Usable components harvested into inventory. The handwriting was Liam's neat block print. That was the first thing that didn't fit, aside from the obvious miracle of resurrection in Oregon. Liam knew engines, and he knew frames. If that Norton had a knock, he would have written big end noise, or cam spalling, or left cylinder compression low. If the frame was bad, he would have written wear. Headstock, lower rail, swing arm mount. He was insufferably specific. It was one of the reasons I trusted him. The second thing that didn't fit was in the parts room. If we had stripped the Norton, I should have seen its organs. The tank should have been wrapped and hung on the north wall. The rebuilt forks should have been tagged. The polished timing cover should have had a yellow sticker with the job number. Instead, the shelves held 6 sets of high-end shocks, 4 new electronic ignition kits, 3 stainless exhaust systems, and 2 sealed boxes of polished alloy rims I did not remember ordering in those quantities. I opened the purchasing log. Liam had ordered them under 3 different build numbers, all later marked scrapped. The quantities were just wrong enough to bother me. If you dismantle one Norton, you don't need 2 new ignition kits for it. If you scrap a Triumph because the frame is bent, you don't order fresh rims 3 weeks later unless you enjoy expensive sculpture. I took photos of the shelves, the purchase entries, and the scrap report. Then I locked the office and went back to labeling car bodies like my hands belonged to someone calm. When Liam came back, he carried 2 coffees in a cardboard tray. He was 52, lean as a spoke wrench, gray at the temples, with hands that looked older than the rest of him. 20 years earlier, he had stopped on I-25 to help me load a dead BSA into my pickup during a dust storm. He had called me Delgado ever since, except on the bad days, when he called me Margot, like he was setting down something fragile. "Powder coat's clean," he said. "They didn't lose the tabs this time." "Miracles are seasonal," I said. He set my coffee on the bench. "You eat?" I almost said, "Did you sell my Norton?" Instead, I said, "A banana is thinking about it." He laughed, and that hurt worse than if he had flinched. That night, after closing, I made a list of bikes marked scrapped in the past 18 months that should not have been scrapped. Not every dead project is a conspiracy. Some bikes arrive 3 bad decisions deep. I crossed off the basket cases, the insurance leftovers, the frames with bad numbers. I circled 5. The Norton, a 1968 Triumph TR6R, a 1972 Moto Guzzi V7 Sport, a 1970 BMW R75/5, a 1966 Ducati Monza. All 5 had been near completion or already done. All 5 had scrap reports entered by Liam. All 5 had expensive parts ordered after problems were discovered, making our inventory look healthy and our cash flow look thin. The next morning, I started with what anyone can use if they have a frame number and patience. I used the NMVTIS consumer portal first. It pulls title history from every state that reports, which is most of them, and supplemented with Oregon and Montana's own online lookups, where they offered them. Some states give you almost nothing. Some give you enough rope to hang your afternoon. I ran the Norton first. Active title, Oregon registration. Reactivation date, May 5. 17 days after Liam filed the scrap report. I sat back so hard my chair squealed. The system did not show the owner's name, but it showed status, state, and dates. I took screenshots with the time and URL visible. Then I printed them and put them in a folder labeled Vendor Warranties, because apparently I had become the kind of woman who hid evidence under boring words. The Triumph came back active in Montana, reactivated August 14, 11 days after its scrap report. The BMW came back active in Idaho, reactivated February 2nd, 3 weeks after it supposedly became parts. 3 frame numbers, 3 ghosts with fresh registrations. I looked through the office window at Liam in the bay. He was fitting a chain guard to a customer's aerial, head bent, glasses low on his nose. He looked exactly like the man who had stayed with me until midnight when my mother was dying, and I needed the distraction of rebuilding a gearbox because sitting at home felt like drowning.
He looked exactly like the man who had taught my niece to change a spark plug and told her she had mechanic hands, which made her stand taller for a month. I stared at the screen until the cursor blinked in time with my pulse. 3 bikes. 3 lies. And the man in the bay had been the person I trusted to tell me when a carb rebuild was clean. I did not confront him with 3 screenshots. 3 screenshots proved something was wrong. They did not prove his hand took the money. I needed the ladder, not the roof.
For 2 weeks, I worked beside him and collected what I could lawfully touch. I copied our own invoices, compared parts ordered against parts used, requested fuller title records from our state DMV for vehicles that had passed through our business, using the form for legitimate business interest. I paid the fees with my own credit card so the charge would not hit the shop account. I made a spreadsheet so plain it could have bored a crow to death. Frame number, shop status, scrap date, parts ordered, public title status, reactivation date, notes. The shop stayed busy. Customers drank our bad coffee and told us about motorcycles they should never have sold. Liam complained about shipping costs. I laughed in the right places. At night, I microwaved tortillas with cheese and stared at numbers until they lost their edges. Then, the trash gave me the next rung.
It was a Friday, the kind where everyone wants their bike before the weekend, and nobody understands that just a carb adjustment can become your petcock is full of rust confetti. Liam left at 3 to meet a supplier. I stayed to close. When I emptied the office trash, a deposit slip fluttered out from under a sandwich wrapper and landed face up on my boot. Rio Mesa Credit Union. Personal account. Liam A. Price. Cash deposit, $18,750. Date, August 17th. 3 days after the Triumph's Montana reactivation. I stood there holding a trash bag full of coffee grounds and paper towels, and for one ridiculous second thought, he will be mad I saw this. That is how deep habit runs. You find a deposit slip that may prove your partner stole from you, and your first reflex is politeness. I did not dig through his desk. I did not open his mail. I took the slip because it had been thrown into the shared office trash of a business I co-owned. I photographed where I found it, put it in a plastic sleeve, and wrote the date and time on a sticky note. The deposit slip alone could have meant anything. Liam could have sold a boat, emptied a mattress, won a very depressing poker game. But $18,750 was too close to what the Triumph would have brought restored. Not proof. Wait. The next receipt came from Vanity, not mine. The Triumph had a detail I knew how to search because I had made it and complained about it at length. The original left side cover had been cracked around the mounting point, and replacements were either junk or priced like medical equipment. I fabricated a backing plate and used 2 small brass acorn nuts because the customer who had been interested in it liked a little jewelry. Liam teased me for calling it jewelry on a motorcycle. I searched phrases from our old draft listing and found nothing. Then I searched one Liam loved because he thought it sounded classy. Sympathetic restoration. Rider quality vintage Triumph. That led to an archived eBay listing. Sold listing. 1968 Triumph TR6R Tiger. Restored, clean Montana title, rider quality, numbers verified. Photos from a storage unit with beige walls. Left side cover with my stupid brass acorn nuts catching the light like 2 little accusations. Seller, High Desert Classic 72. The contact line showed enough of an email to make my stomach drop. lprice72 at. Liam's personal email. The one he used for fishing trips, medical updates when his wife was sick, and sending me absurd Craigslist listings at midnight. The listing date was August 6, 3 days after he marked the Triumph scrapped. Sold August 12, reactivated August 14. Cash deposit August 17. That changed everything. Before that, there was room for a story where Liam had cut corners, maybe sold through the business and entered it wrong, maybe panicked and meant to fix it. The archived listing put the bike in his personal channel after it had been declared dead in hours. I printed the page twice, saved it as a PDF, took screenshots. In one photo, under the seat near the battery tray, was the small aluminum tag we used on restorations before switching to etched plates. Our tag. My rivets. I went to the bathroom and threw up nothing because I had eaten nothing. That evening, I called our CPA, Carla Nguyen, from my truck in a grocery store parking lot because I did not want my house to hear me say it. Carla had handled our books for 9 years and treated receipts with a moral seriousness usually reserved for burial rites. She was small, brisk, and allergic to drama, unless drama came with bank statements. I need to ask you something without triggering a whole process unless it needs to be triggered, I said. That sentence has never led to peace, she said. Go on. I told her the shape. Inventory discrepancies, vehicles marked scrapped, title records showing active registration, possible off-book sales. I did not say theft. I did not say Liam. Do you have documents? She asked. Yes. Do not accuse anyone yet. Do not alter files. Do not access personal accounts. Preserve what you have. Make copies of business records you are entitled to access. Send me nothing by shop email. Can you come Monday before opening? Yes. And Margot? What? If this is what it sounds like, I'm choosing the books over friendship. You should know that before you bring me anything. Carla and Liam liked each other. He had fixed her father's old Honda for parts cost. She brought us tamales every December. Her saying that was not cold. It was a line drawn cleanly enough to stand on. Monday at 7, I sat in her office while she reviewed the screenshots, inventory pages, scrap reports, purchasing logs, deposit slip, and archived listing. When she got to the eBay page, she took off her glasses and rubbed the bridge of her nose. This is enough to justify a forensic review, she said. But if you want leverage before lawyers start billing in 6-minute slices, get a buyer if you can. Someone who says, I bought this from Liam Price personally. That turns a pattern into a witness. The Montana Triumph? Best one. Clean sequence. Listing, title status, deposit. Do you have owner information? Not a name. The title return shows Montana, Park County, transfer date, and a partial owner line. Enough to know it moved, not enough to call anybody. Good. Don't try to get around that. Public sources only. Ask the community if you have to. She looked at me then, not the folder. Are you safe at the shop? I almost laughed. It's Liam. That is not an answer. No violence, I said. He'll lie or fold. He won't hurt me. You believed other things, too. I had no response. The fuller record came 10 days later in a government envelope too ordinary for what it carried. It did not hand me a buyer's address like a gift from a lazy movie. It showed an active Montana title, Park County registration, the transfer date, the title number, and a partial owner name, T. Hollis. Enough to narrow the world, not enough to violate anyone's privacy for my convenience. I spent that evening doing the dull public kind of searching that makes you feel both resourceful and creepy. Park County business licenses, a regional vintage motorcycle forum, old rally photos. A small engine repair shop outside Livingston called Hollis Repair had posted 2 pictures from a fall ride, and in the background of one was a red and silver Triumph with 2 little brass acorn nuts on the left side cover. The shop number was on its website. I wrote a script because cold calling a stranger to say he may have bought stolen honesty is not a natural act. Hollis Repair, he answered. Mr. Hollis, my name is Margot Delgado. I co-own Delgado & Price Vintage Motorworks in Albuquerque. I'm calling about a 1968 Triumph TR6R you purchased last August. Do you have a minute? Silence. Then, guarded. Is there a problem with the bike? No, not with the bike. I'm investigating a business dispute involving how it was sold. I'm not accusing you of wrongdoing. I'm not asking for money or the bike. I'm asking if you'd be willing to confirm who sold it to you and provide copies of paperwork you already have. I bought it fair. I believe you. Title was clean. I believe that too. An air compressor kicked on behind him. Why are you calling me? Because my best friend sold you a motorcycle he told me was dead. Because I need a stranger to be kinder than my partner was. Because receipts are the only language a trail can't charm. Because the bike was reported inside our business as dismantled for parts before you bought it. If it was sold by my partner personally, our company never received the proceeds. I need facts. He exhaled. Hell. I know. I paid cash. How much? $18,750. I closed my eyes. He said, "That bad, huh?" "It is not great." There was a rough laugh. Understatement travels. I asked if he would sign a notarized statement confirming the date, amount, seller, and that Liam had sold it in his personal name. I offered to pay for notarization, copying, and overnight mailing. Trent did not agree immediately. He asked for my business number, Carla's office number, and time to think. Fair. A man who says yes too quickly to a stranger is either generous beyond reason or selling something. He called back the next day. "I talked to my wife," he said. "She says if somebody did this to our shop, I'd want help. I'll send what I've got." 3 days later, the envelope arrived. Inside was a notarized statement, a bill of sale written in Liam's hand, a photo of the signed title transfer, and 3 pictures of the Triumph on a trailer behind Trent's truck. In one, Liam stood beside it, wearing the denim jacket I had given him for his 50th birthday. He looked tired, proud, like a man selling a bike he had every right to sell. The bill of sale had no shop name. Seller, Liam A. Price. Amount, $18,750 cash. That was the receipt that ended the argument I had been having with myself. I did not sleep that night. I sat at my kitchen table with the envelope and thought about Elena. Liam's wife had been funny in a dry, sideways way that made you realize the joke 3 seconds after she walked away. 6 years earlier, she was diagnosed with a degenerative neurological condition that ate money as steadily as it ate balance, speech, dignity. Liam became quieter. He missed auctions. He started doing pickups alone because Elena did not like people seeing the wheelchair. We offered help badly, the way people do when they're afraid of insulting someone. I said, "If you need time, take it." Carla helped them apply for billing assistance. Customers donated to a fundraiser Elena hated. Liam said they were managing. Elena died 2 years before the Norton photo. We closed the shop for 3 days. Liam came back on the 4th and rebuilt a gearbox without speaking except to ask for snap ring pliers. I thought that was grief. Maybe it was. Maybe it was also momentum. The forensic review later showed the first suspicious sale happened during Elena's worst year. A BSA project, marked parts only after we had already paid for paint. Then a Ducati. Then nothing for 6 months. Then 2.25. After she died, the pattern did not stop. It got cleaner. That was the delayed cruelty. He had not started as a cartoon thief. He had started as a desperate husband too proud to open the books and say, "We are drowning." I would have restructured draws. I would have delayed my own pay. I would have sold the shop truck and driven my old Ford until the doors fell off. I would have been angry, probably. I would have helped. But he chose silence, then fraud, then practice. By the time the medical bills were no longer the reason, the lie had become load-bearing. It kept his house. It kept the shop looking stable. It kept him from having to be the man who asked. Knowing why did not reduce what he took. It only made the wound less clean. Carla referred me to a business attorney named Ruth Selig, who worked above a bakery and had the calm expression of someone who had seen every possible way partners disappoint each other. I brought copies, not originals. She listened, asked precise questions, and stopped me twice when I tried to explain Liam's grief, as if motive were a discount code. "I'm not unsympathetic," she said, "but your company owned assets. He diverted them. Your sympathy is not collateral." "I don't want him arrested," I said. "I didn't ask if you did. I'm saying it anyway." Civil route first, then. Forensic audit. Demand letter. Settlement if he's rational. Civil suit if he isn't. The documents are strong, especially with the buyer statement. But prepare yourself. He may accuse you. He may say you knew. He may say the business authorized it. He wouldn't. Ruth and Carla both looked at me with the same terrible patience. I corrected myself. I don't know what he'll do. Better, Ruth said. We planned the confrontation like a repair procedure. Tools laid out, steps in order, no improvising with a hammer unless you want to buy a new case. Carla would begin the forensic audit under our operating agreement. Ruth would deliver the demand letter. I would not have a private emotional showdown in the bay, surrounded by torque wrenches and history. I failed at that last part. A little. The morning before Ruth sent the letter, Liam and I were alone in the shop. He was sorting Whitworth sockets, because apparently betrayal does not excuse a man from being particular. I was checking valve clearances on a 1969 Bonneville, the last bike he had sourced for us before everything surfaced. It was beautiful, blue and silver, with a tank line so clean it briefly made me believe in order. Liam said, "You've been somewhere else lately." I kept my eyes on the feeler gauge. Have I? Don't do that. Do what? Talk like a customer who knows the estimate is too low. I set the wrench down. The bay smelled like oil, dust, and lemon hand cleaner. Outside, a delivery truck hissed to a stop. I looked at him. "Why did you bring donuts on April 18th? He froze. Not much. If I hadn't known him 20 years, I would have missed it. What? The Norton. You filed the scrap report that day. Margot. There it was. Not Delgado. Don't, I said. He put the socket down. Whatever you think. Don't guess what I think. You'll insult both of us. His face went gray under the shop lights. For a second, I saw an old man I hadn't noticed arriving. How much do you know? He asked. Enough? Not enough? Too much. You'll get a letter today, I said. Carla is starting an audit. Ruth Selig represents me and the company's interests. The company's interests, he repeated, bitterly. Yes, that thing we both signed our names to. He looked toward the front window where our names sat in cracked gold vinyl. I was going to put it back, he said. That sentence should be retired by law. Nobody who says it has ever put anything back in time. When? I asked. After the Norton? After the Triumph? After the BMW? His jaw worked. I have Trent Hollis's statement, I said. He sat down on the rolling stool as if his legs had loosened. His hands hung between his knees, nails rimmed with black. Elena's bills, he said. I know. No, you don't. You're right. I don't. You didn't let me. That got him. His eyes filled but did not spill. I couldn't ask, he said. So you stole. I kept us open. That was the first time I saw the story he had told himself fully lit. Not theft, sacrifice. Not fraud, management. He had stolen from the shop to keep his life from collapsing, then stolen more to hide the hole, then somehow converted the act into proof of devotion. Maybe to Elena, maybe to the business, maybe just to the man he needed in the mirror. You kept us open by hollowing us out, I said. He looked up sharply. You think you could have handled it better? I think I should have been given the chance. The delivery driver knocked, and we both flinched like guilty children. I signed for fork seals while Liam stared at the floor. When I turned back, he had gone into the office and shut the door. Ruth's letter arrived by courier at 2. Liam read it in the office. He did not come out for 40 minutes. Then he walked to his toolbox, locked it, and said, I'm going home. I wanted to say something that would make the moment less pathetic. I found nothing. The audit took 6 compact, brutal weeks. Carla and her forensic accountant traced 11 bikes over 5 years. Not all were full restorations. Some were partial builds. Some were projects sold quietly before they hit our books properly. The confirmed amount was $143,600 in diverted proceeds, not counting damage to taxes, inventory valuation, and my ability to look at an empty lift without suspicion. The likely amount was higher, but Ruth advised focusing on what we could prove cleanly. Each receipt made a different door close. The DMV records proved the bikes were not dead. The deposit slip tied one ghost to Liam's personal cash. The archived listing proved he marketed at least one restored shop bike himself after declaring it scrap.
Trent's notarized statement proved a buyer paid Liam personally and received title from him. The audit proved it was not a mistake. It was a system. Liam hired his own attorney, the first sensible thing he had done in months. He did not deny the triumph. He tried to argue some bikes were abandoned assets he had personally funded. Carla dismantled that, with invoices paid from the shop account and parts ordered through our vendor accounts. He tried to claim I had been too hands-off with sales. That one stung, because it was partly true. I had trusted him with front-end sales while I stayed in the Bay, where I was happiest and most useful. Competence can become a blindfold if it lets you avoid the room where the numbers live. Ruth did not let him turn my trust into authorization. The settlement happened in Ruth's conference room above the bakery. Someone downstairs was baking cinnamon rolls. It was obscene and comforting at the same time. Liam sat across from me in a button-down shirt I had only seen at funerals. His attorney sat beside him. Carla had a binder. Ruth had 3 stacks of documents and a pen that probably billed more per hour than I did.
The terms were plain, because Ruth believed plain language prevented future pretending. Liam acknowledged diverting company assets and proceeds. He agreed to restitution through a promissory note secured against his share of the business. The settlement included a stipulated judgment, meaning if he missed a single payment, Ruth could file it with the court and it would become an enforceable judgment without starting the whole fight over again. I would buy out his remaining interest at a valuation reduced by the stolen amount, audit costs, and tax penalties attributable to his conduct. He would resign immediately, surrender access, provide all remaining records, and make no claim against the shop name, inventory, or customer list. No criminal complaint from me if he complied. No public statement beyond, Liam Price is no longer affiliated with Delgado Vintage Motorworks. The gold vinyl would come down. When Ruth slid the stipulated judgment across the table, Liam stared at it. "This makes me sound like a criminal," he said. Ruth said, "It makes you sound collectible." I almost laughed. It came out as a cough. Liam looked at me. "Is this what you want?" That was unfair in a way only a desperate person can be unfair. Of course it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted April 18 back. I wanted him to bring donuts because the compressor died, not because he had erased a Norton. I wanted Elena alive and our books boring. I wanted the luxury of never knowing what his handwriting looked like on a false scrap report. "I want the shop to survive what you did," I said. He sighed. His hand shook on the last page. Mine did too when it was my turn. Ruth notarized, witnessed, stacked, clipped. The whole thing took less than an hour, which felt insulting. 20 years can be severed faster than a seized axle if the paperwork is ready. Outside, Liam stopped on the sidewalk. The bakery door opened, and warm sugar air rolled over us. He looked smaller without a shop behind him. "I did love that place," he said. "I know. I loved you too, Delgado. Like family. I know that too." He winced, because I did not offer the sentence back. I could have. It would have been true. But truth is not always medicine. Sometimes it is just another tool with an edge. He walked away with his envelope under one arm, and I went back upstairs, because Ruth needed one more signature. For the next month, the shop sounded wrong. Every noise had too much space around it.
The phone rang, and I expected Liam to answer with his dry, "Delgado and Price. If it leaks, we can probably find it." Customers asked where he was. I gave the sentence Ruth approved and watched them decide whether to pry. Most didn't. Motorcycle people can be nosy about jetting and merciful about grief. I changed the locks, revoked logins, updated vendor accounts. I took down the gold vinyl myself with a heat gun on a Sunday morning. The ghost outline of his name stayed on the glass for weeks, visible when the sun hit it from the west. Delgado Vintage Motor Works looked naked at first. Then, honest. Then, it just looked like work. The Bonneville sold to a schoolteacher from Santa Fe who had been saving for 3 years and cried a little when it started on the second kick. I did not tell her it was the last bike Liam had sourced. She did not need my ghosts in her machine. I watched her ride away carefully, elbows stiff, joy coming off her like heat. After she left, I walked to the empty bay where Liam's personal project bike had sat for as long as we'd had the shop. A 1951 Ariel Square 4 he claimed he would finish when customers stop inventing emergencies. He had taken it as part of the settlement, loading the frame, engine, and milk crates of parts into a rented trailer without asking me to help. That was probably kind. Or cowardly. By then, I had stopped trying to sort every act. The rectangle of clean concrete under the Ariel remained, bordered by years of shop dust. I stood in it and felt relief first, which made me ashamed. No more guessing what he had entered. No more listening for his tone. No more carrying the weight of a man's secret after discovering it. Relief can be a scar's first language. Then came grief, slower and less useful. I kept running the shop solo. People told me to bring in a partner, maybe a younger mechanic with energy and Instagram instincts. I hired part-time help for bookkeeping and overflow wrenching, but not a partner. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I know that is damage speaking. I know solitude is not wisdom. Still, every time someone says, "You need somebody you can trust," I think I had somebody. One rainy afternoon in November, I opened a parts box that had been on the top shelf so long the cardboard had softened at the corners. It was labeled BSA Lightning, NOS MISC, in Liam's handwriting. I almost put it back. Then I got mad at myself because even my shelves were apparently haunted, and I cut the tape. Inside were fork gaiters, a Lucas switch still in brittle paper, 2 tank badges wrapped in newspaper, and a flat manila envelope. The envelope held the original invoice from our first year in business, when we were still working out of a rented 2-bay garage that smelled like old tires and ambition. BSA Lightning, 1965. Customer, Raymond Ortiz. Labor, too cheap. Parts, half donated from our own stashes because we wanted the job that badly. At the bottom were both our signatures. Margot Delgado, Liam Price. My signature was bigger then, all confidence and loops. Liam's was careful, as if he already understood paper outlasted mood. Across the top, in his handwriting, he had written, "First one we did right." I sat on the office floor with that invoice in my lap while rain ticked against the window and the printer made its occasional lonely clunk. I did not cry. I had cried in stranger places by then, under the lift, in the bank parking lot, once in the cereal aisle because an old man smelled like Liam's peppermint gum. That day, I just held the paper and let it be 2 things. Proof we had built something. Proof he had broken it. Receipts are funny that way. They don't only record betrayal, they record the world before it. I put the NOS parts back in the box, except for the invoice. That I carried to the safe. Inside were titles, insurance papers, backup drives, the settlement agreement, and the signed stipulated judgment Ruth had told me to keep where fire and sentiment couldn't reach it. I placed the first-year BSA invoice beside the settlement. 2 documents, both signed by the same hands. One from the beginning, one from the end. Then I closed the safe, spun the dial, and went back into the bay. A customer's Norton was waiting on the lift. Not a Commando, just a tired Atlas with bad compression and good bones. The work light caught the chrome like a small, stubborn sunrise. I picked up my wrench and checked the tag twice before I turned a single bolt.